Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into something really important. It's about knowing when and how to walk away from things in life situations that just aren't serving you anymore.
hmm We've gathered some, well, really compelling insights on this, looking at how to spot those moments maybe in relationships, jobs, or, other circumstances.
And understanding how self-respect plays a huge part in actually making that decision. Plus, what happens next, navigating the aftermath.
Exactly. Our goal really is to help you get a clearer sense of when it's genuinely time and how to walk away effectively.
Yeah, moving from that feeling of being stuck, which I think so many people feel,
Oh, absolutely.
to feeling, well, empowered.
Right.
Because it's such a common thing, isn't it? That little voice or maybe a big feeling that something's just off,
Mm-hmm.
like a relationship that drains you or a job that's kind of crushing your spirit, but actually leaving.
hmm
That feels impossible sometimes.
It really does. Paralyzing.
Okay, so let's dive right in.
Yeah.
Why is it so hard? Why do we stay, even when everything inside is maybe screaming go?
Well, fundamentally, I think a lot of it comes down to the brain just preferring what it knows. Predictability.
Even if what it knows is uncomfortable.
Exactly. We're kind of wired for safety, and familiar discomfort can weirdly feel less scary than an unknown piece. The whole devil you know idea.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
That's
Like,
it.
okay, this isn't great, but I know how to navigate this unhappiness.
Right. And layered on top of that is often this belief, this illusion almost, that we can fix it.
Oh, yeah. The fixer tendency,
That if we just try harder, put in more effort, we can change the person or the situation.
which feels proactive, but
But there's a really key difference between putting in effort where it counts and knowing when actually you need to let go. It's not about giving up control, it's about choosing where your energy goes. Sometimes walking away is the most powerful move.
and then there's the weight of what you've already put in, the time, the energy, the love.
Oh, huge. That creates massive inertia. It's that sunk cost fallacy, right?
Definitely. I've invested so much, I can't leave now. It'll all be wasted.
Yeah, and we mix up the time we've already spent with, like, potential future value, but they're not linked like that. Just because you've been somewhere a long time doesn't mean it's going to suddenly get good.
Learning to cut your losses, emotionally speaking.
Exactly. Stop pouring good energy after bad. It's crucial for your own well-being.
And what about, like, societal pressure? This idea that sticking things out is always the strong thing to do.
That's a big one, too. There are these subtle messages everywhere that leaving means you failed or you're weak or selfish even.
Right. Endurance is seen as this ultimate virtue.
But there's a tipping point, isn't there, where endurance stops being resilience and just becomes, well, self-abandonment, staying put when it's hurting you just because you feel you should. That does more damage.
Okay, so those are some really strong forces keeping us stuck.
Fear,
Fair.
sunk costs,
Mhm.
societal conditioning. So how do we start to see through that? How do we actually recognize, okay, now's the time. What are the signs? Well, often it's not like one big dramatic thing. It's more of a slow burn,
Mhm.
a consistent feeling, like your peace is being eroded.
The erosion of peace. I like that phrasing.
Think about feeling consistently drained after you talk to someone or when you're in a certain place. That's a big clue.
Yeah, that energy drain is real.
Another one is if you find yourself constantly making excuses for someone else's behavior, explaining it away to yourself or to others.
Like you're trying to convince yourself it's okay when it doesn't feel okay.
Exactly. That's your internal alarm bell trying to ring. What else? Boundaries being repeatedly ignored. That's huge.
So you say what you need and it just gets steamrolled.
Yeah, again and again. That's a really bad sign. Or that feeling of walking on eggshells, constantly watching what you say, scared of the reaction. That shows the environment isn't safe for you.
It's exhausting.
Totally. And look out for, like, effort that always seems to come too late, or kindness that feels off, like it's being used to smooth things over after damage has been done, but doesn't actually fix the root cause.
Weaponized kindness almost.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
Or just too little, too late. It points to a pattern.
Okay, those are external signs. What about the internal ones? That gut feeling people talk about. Intuition.
Oh, absolutely crucial. That still, small voice inside. It often knows the truth long before our logical mind wants to admit it.
But we're good at silencing it, aren't we? With logic or guilt.
We really are. We rationalize, we minimize. But that intuition often doesn't just vanish. It can start showing up in your body.
Physically.
Yeah. Your body often keeps the score, as they say. Pay attention to those physical those somatic clues.
Like what specifically?
Things like chronic fatigue you can't explain, or a tightness in your chest, maybe nausea around certain people or situations, headaches that keep coming back, or just that sinking feeling in your stomach.
I know that sinking feeling.
Right. These aren't just random aches and pains. The source we looked at described this as wisdom made flesh. Your body is trying to tell you something's fundamentally not right, not aligned.
Wisdom made flesh. Wow, that really lands. Makes you want to listen more closely.
Definitely.
Okay, something else that keeps people stuck, I think, is needing closure. Wanting that neat ending, the apology, the understanding. Is that always realistic?
That's a tough one. It's natural to want it, but the truth is closure isn't always given to you by the other person or situation.
So you might never get that apology.
You might never get it. You might never get the explanation you feel you deserve. And that's hard, but it's important to realize that closure is often something you have to create for yourself.
How do you do that?
It's about making the choice to move forward anyway, honoring your experience, your feelings, even if no one else validates them. It's an internal process of release.
Okay, so we know why we stay. We know the signs it's time to go, even if there's no neat closure. Let's talk about the actual act of walking away. It feels so final, heavy. How do we reframe that? Make it feel less like failure and more like something else.
Reframing is key. Look, walking away isn't giving up. It's choosing yourself. It's not weakness. It's actually immense strength.
It takes courage.
Huge courage. And it's not abandoning someone or something. It's about stopping the abandonment of yourself. It's like saying, deep down, I matter, my peace matters, I deserve better.
Those statements, they feel powerful just saying them.
They are. They carry so much weight. Choosing to leave a situation that harms you. That's a profound act of self-love, really.
Radical self-love, even.
Yeah, it's choosing peace over chaos, truth over pretending, healing over history. And sometimes it involves a kind of quiet detachment, letting go without bitterness, moving on without needing revenge or for anyone else to understand.
Also releasing your grip.
Exactly. It's a quiet assertion of your own value. Sometimes that's louder than any argument.
That really shifts the perspective. It's not about the drama, it's about the internal decision. But it still takes guts, right? Because the familiar, even if it's bad, feels known.
Oh, absolutely. The courage needed here often doesn't look like heroic, movie courage. It's often quiet, it's messy, it's deeply personal.
Yeah.
It's the bravery to leave that relationship that feels comfortable but dead inside. Or the job that pays the bills but drains your soul. Or maybe even a dream you held for years that just doesn't fit anymore.
That's hard. Letting go of a dream.
It is. But loyalty to others, or even to an old version of yourself, without loyalty to who you are now, that's self-betrayal. Real courage is choosing you, right now, even when it's the harder path.
Okay, so you've done it. You've made the brave, hard choice. You walked away. What happens then? It's not like sunshine and rainbows immediately, right?
Oh, definitely not always. The aftermath, it can be messy too. You're likely going to feel a mix of things. Guilt is common.
Why guilt?
Well, partly from those societal messages we talked about. You should have tried harder. You gave up. And partly just feeling bad for potentially hurting someone, even if leaving was necessary.
Okay, and grief too.
Oh, absolutely. Grief is huge. You're mourning what you lost, yes, but also what you hoped for, the future you imagined in that situation, the time and energy you poured in. That's a real loss to grieve.
And second-guessing yourself. Did I do the right thing?
Constantly, sometimes, especially in the beginning. That's often just your old conditioning, your old thought patterns trying to pull you back to the familiar. It's all part of the process.
So the key is to just acknowledge those feelings.
Yeah.
Not let them derail you.
Exactly. Recognize them. Understand where they come from, the conditioning, the loss. But don't let them dictate your actions now. Healing also involves consciously rebuilding.
Rebuilding what? Your life.
Your sense of self, really. Rediscovering who you are outside of that situation you left. What brings you joy now? What are your non-negotiables going forward? Setting new, stronger boundaries. It's like coming home to yourself, your authentic self.
And presumably, by leaving the thing that wasn't right, you create space.
Yes, that's so important. Letting go literally creates space in your life, emotional space, energetic space, even time. And life tends to fill vacuums,
So new things can come in.
New things that are actually aligned with who you are now. Better opportunities, healthier relationships. Because you're not tied up in the old dynamic anymore. You start making choices from a place of clarity, not fear or obligation.
It sounds like moving from just reacting to actually creating your life.
That's a great way to put it. It's about making choices based on what feels like peace, expansion, love, rather than what you feel you should do, living in alignment.
In a world matching the outer choices.
Precisely. And part of that, a really powerful part, is learning to just say no sometimes, without a long, drawn-out explanation or apology.
Just no.
Just no. It's a bold act of self-respect. It all feeds into becoming that version of you who knows their worth, who doesn't settle for, well, for crumbs when you deserve the whole meal. You operate from a place of enoughness.
So this whole act of choosing to walk away,
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be a huge, dramatic exit.
Not at all. It's often a quiet revolution, happening inside you first.
A quiet revolution.
Yeah. Prioritizing your peace, making your boundaries real, trusting your own voice above the noise. That is the transformation. Walking away isn't just an ending, it's a beginning.
A turning point.
Definitely. Towards being more whole, more honest, more you. And when you choose yourself like that, it kind of ripples out. It gives other people permission to think about doing the same.
Wow. This has been incredibly insightful, a real deep dive into something so fundamental. Just to recap a little,
Yeah, good idea.
walking away when it's right is really an act of courage,
Yeah.
of self-love. It's a step towards living more authentically.
Mm-hmm. And it requires understanding why we get stuck, learning to really listen to our intuition and our bodies.
That wisdom made flesh.
Right. And truly getting deep down that you are worthy of peace and respect.
Yeah. Your peace doesn't need justifying. Your boundaries aren't up for debate.
Exactly. Choosing you isn't selfish. It's necessary. It's not giving up on life. It's choosing a better life for you.
So a final thought for everyone listening. Maybe take a moment now or later today.
Right.
Think about one area in your life. Is there anywhere you might be staying, just out of obligation or maybe fear?
Mm-hmm.
And just consider, what would it feel like, truly feel like, to trust that walking away, choosing yourself, could be the most powerful, most empowering thing you could do, maybe even right now?
Something to really sit with.
Definitely. Thank you for joining us for this deep dive.